Next, I want to talk about dealer's insurance. The state of Texas requires every motor vehicle driven on any roadway to be insured, including the demos and all service vehicles that are owned by your dealership. It is illegal to drive any motor vehicle in Texas without proof of insurance or financial responsibility. It is also illegal for any motor vehicle owner, such as a dealer, to allow anyone else to drive the owner's demos, such as your demos, without insurance. And that's under the Texas Administrative Code, Chapter 5. Before you purchase any inventory to resell, you must obtain an insurance policy that we sometimes refer to as a dealer insurance policy or a dealer garage policy. Dealer insurance is a special type of insurance that is quite unique in nature, and that it covers you when your customers are test driving your vehicles. It's going to cover you when you or an employee are driving a vehicle back and forth, say, for example, from a dealer auction. It's also going to cover you if somebody is injured while on your lot. So it is a very, very protective of the dealer. Many insurance agents do not sell dealer insurance. So you might call your insurance agent to find out if they carry dealer insurance, and if they do not, you'll more than likely need to contact an insurance agency that specializes in commercial coverage. Be sure they can explain the best type of coverage that would be best for your dealership. Now, there are 4 factors that basically affect dealer insurance pricing. Dealer insurance pricing normally depends on the location of your dealership, your experience, and the number of dealer plates that you possess. So the location, the closer you are to like an urban core, the higher your prices are. The farther you're out into like a rural area, then you're going to see a little bit lower price. Your experience, the longer you have an experience without a claim, you are hopefully going to be paying lower rates. And they will always ask how many dealer plates that you have. So, if you don't have any dealer plates, then your insurance fees will be a little bit lower than if you do have dealer plates. Dealer insurance can be quite expensive. However, once you become established and begin generating profits, you're going to find out that dealer insurance is probably just going to be a small part of your operational expenses. But when you see your first quote, you might get a little sticker shock here. But once you get your business started and realize, the profit potential, as I said, dealer insurance is usually going to be just a basic small part of your operational expenses. There are several types of dealer insurance. We have, and I'm going to go into each of these. We have dealer liability, dealer's open lot, garage keepers, errors and omissions, employment practices, workers' compensation, and false pretense. Let's first start with dealer liability, or sometimes they just call it garage liability. This is going to be the cheapest, but it also is going to give you the least amount of coverage. If your customer wrecks your demo into another vehicle, it's going to cover the other vehicle, but it's not going to cover your demo or your property because it's dealer liability. Okay, this will be the cheapest type, but it does give you the least coverage. It never fixes your property. It will always fix someone else's property. Say, for example, if your customer wrecks a demo, like I said, into another vehicle. Dealer's open lot. You might consider this as full coverage for your inventory, but we don't normally call it full coverage. We call it dealer's open lot. If your vehicles are damaged by wind, natural disaster, or hail, it's also going to cover you in cases of theft. And I want to talk about this here just a little bit. I've read cases where, a dealer comes in and their entire inventory has been stolen in one night. This has happened before. We have tornadoes. Just a few years ago, you remember Hurricane Harvey hit the Gulf Coast, flooded Houston. 1.2 million vehicles sat underneath water for a couple of days. So I can almost assure you there was probably some dealerships in Houston that had their entire inventory submerged. So you want to make sure that you've always got enough coverage in your inventory, because I know dealers that have went into financial ruin that did not have enough coverage. Now, your dealer's open lot is never going to be based on a specific amount of vehicles. It's based on a dollar amount. So, let's just say, for example, you have $50,000 worth of inventory on your lot. You need $50,000 worth of open lot coverage because there are many factors that can actually lead to the entire loss of your inventory. So make sure that you have enough coverage. Sometimes dealers might start out with dealer liability until you start really building up some inventory. But once you have a little bit of inventory, you definitely need to make sure that you have some open lot coverage. Garage keepers. Garage keepers insurance covers vehicles that are owned by the customer that they're leaving at your vehicle dealership for repair. So if you're doing, any type of repairs, if you keep a garage, then you need garage keepers. And sometimes those policies will cover stolen tools and things like that. Errors and omissions covers a dealer that failed to comply with the Federal Truth in Lending Act, which we're gonna cover that extensively here in a little while. Maybe made an error in paperwork submitted to the state, or failed to disclose prior damage that you were not aware of, or failed to perform a title search. I'll show you how to do title searches later on in the course. Another type of insurance you might discuss with your insurance agent is called employment practices liability. This provides coverage against sexual harassment lawsuits, wrongful termination of an employee, wage payment disputes, deprivation of career opportunity, discrimination, things like that. So that's something you certainly might want to discuss with your insurance agent. Employment practices liability. Workers' compensation provides coverage in case of workplace injury to an employee. And we're going to cover workers' compensation extensively in a whole unit later on in the course. False pretense. Now, false pretense is sometimes mixed up with errors and omissions, but they are quite different in nature. This covers a dealer that purchased a vehicle from someone that did not have the legal selling rights to that vehicle, or somebody sold you a vehicle fraudulently. It's also going to cover a person that purchases the vehicle from a dealer in a fraudulent manner. It covers the dealer when a person buys a vehicle from you in a fraudulent manner. Say, for example, using a stolen ID or something like that. So that's false pretense. Make sure and discuss these with your insurance agent, and they're definitely going to make sure that you have the right coverage. Okay. Now, what are our penalties? Any dealer in Texas that does not maintain financial responsibility on service vehicles, or if you drive a demo without insurance, or if you ever allow a customer to drive a demo without financial responsibility, you can face penalties. And if you ever have a lapse in coverage, your insurance agent will definitely tack on a penalty there to your next premium. Okay. Now, where do we find dealer insurance? Okay. Now, you're not going to log on to Progressive or Geico. Even you won't even be able to call like a State Farm agent. Okay. You might contact your insurance agent, but many insurance agents do not cover inventories. Okay. So, you might contact that insurance agent. You might ask some other dealers who they use. Or you can easily do an internet search. And, I always use Google, but you can use whatever search engine that you're comfortable with. You might go to Google, type in Texas Dealer Insurance. And as you can see here, there are several companies that will assist you when obtaining coverage for your inventory. So you need to make sure, no matter what, you don't have to have the insurance before you get your license, but you certainly have to have financial responsibility. You have to have insurance on all of your demos and service vehicles as well before you purchase them. Okay, so do please keep that in mind. A lot of resources there, as you can see right there on the screen. There's a lot of companies that would like to earn your insurance business. Let's talk about a retail contractor. Sometimes we call this a bill of sale. Every retail and wholesale, remember, retail is a sale on the lot to a customer. Wholesale is a sale maybe directly to another dealer or maybe at a dealer auction. Every retail and wholesale sale of a motor vehicle must be preceded by a written contract that contains all the agreements of the parties and shall be signed by the buyer and seller. If financing is involved, state law requires that you have an installment contract, which can be printed up, using any dealer management software. And we'll talk about dealer management software later on. If financing is not involved, then you must have someone type up, a written retail contract or bill of sale. And like I said, these can easily be printed up by, a dealer management software. Maybe you got an attorney that'll draw you up this document. But the bill of sale clarifies the terms of any motor vehicle transaction in writing. So that bill of sale is going to have to show the date of the sale, the vehicle description, a vehicle identification number, the name and address of the person purchasing the vehicle, and the sales price, and any other fees. And later on in the course, we'll talk about documentary fees, and you will certainly need to have those included as well. So here you see a sample bill of sale that might be easily printed from any dealer management system. Like I said, you can also purchase these from dealer auctions. Most dealer auctions do have these as well. But a bill of sale or retail installment contract is going to be required on absolutely every single transaction. So remember, you want to fill this out before you do the deal. I want to talk also about odometer disclosure and odometer tampering. Very important that you're aware of this, because Many, if not all, the vehicles that you're buying and selling will have odometers unless they're a trailer or sport utility vehicle or something like that. I mean, a UTV, excuse me. The current mileage on any vehicle less than 10 years of age must be disclosed in writing. I want to repeat that. Very, very important statement. The current mileage on any vehicle less than 10 years of age must be disclosed in writing. And the seller is required by law to disclose the odometer reading at the time of the sale. The odometer reading is not going to be needed on vehicles that are 10 years or older or has a gross vehicle weight of more than 16,000 pounds. Okay, and that would be a laden weight of about 8,500. But your gross vehicle weight of more than 16,000 pounds, so say, for example, maybe you're selling a semi-truck, or if it's sold by like a manufacturer directly to a United States government, that's not going to be us because we're not manufacturers. If it's not self-propelled, that'd be a trailer. So I'll keep that in mind, or a brand new vehicle being sold to a customer. But remember, we're not brand new vehicle dealers. Excuse me, we are selling used vehicles. Dealers must disclose odometer information on any vehicle that is not exempt at the time of the sale. The state no longer requires dealers to complete an additional odometer statement that was required in the past. However, odometer information must still be disclosed on any electronic title application and on Form VTR 21-A, which we'll cover here in just a little while. As a licensed Texas motor vehicle dealer, you must be aware of odometer brands, what constitutes odometer tampering, and odometer tampering penalties. Okay, and now the following is a chart that displays different types of odometer brands according to the National Motor Vehicle Title Information System. And this is a federal database that we're going to cover extensively later on in the course. Okay, so you can see several of the brands right there and how they work. So you definitely want to be aware of these different brands. And these are all, like I said, based on the National Motor Vehicle Title Information System that we're going to cover here in just a little while. But, according to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, more than 450,000 vehicles are sold each year with false odometer readings. And this costs the American car buyer over $1 billion annually. So I want you to know, how to spot odometer fraud, how to protect against it, and who to contact if you ever think that you are a victim of this illegal behavior. A couple things you want to look at. Make sure and compare the mileage reading with any type of maintenance stickers that might be on the window. So if it says the oil needs to be changed at, say, for example, 50,000 miles and the odometer reads 7,000, well, there's a big discrepancy there. If you got an older odometer, maybe with the digits on it that aren't lining up correctly or something like that, make sure and look at all previous title paperwork. But I also want you to be aware that I'm going to show you how to find out the last recorded history at that National Motor Vehicle Title information here in just a little while. Odometer tampering is illegal. It is a crime. And the federal government has passed a law that does require written disclosure of mileage at the time of the sale, which pretty much lines up with state law. Something I want you to be aware that, digital odometers that have been tampered with are even harder to detect than traditional mechanical odometers since they do have no moving parts. So with that being in mind, they do now have, I guess you call them black hat software programs that actually allow someone to hit a vehicle diagnostic switch up to the very back of the steering wheel, and they can change digital readouts. So that's certainly something that you want to be aware of. I am going to show you that National Motor Vehicle Title Information System here in just a little bit. So I will hopefully help you prevent odometer fraud. So that is certainly something that we need to be aware of. Dealers are strictly prohibited from fraudulently tampering with an odometer to reduce the mileage. And besides criminal penalties, a person could be permanently denied a dealer's license upon such conviction as well. So pursuant to Texas Transportation Code 727.002, a person who commits odometer fraud is subject to confinement in the county jail for up to 2 years, a fine of up to $1,000, or both confinement and jail. Okay, confinement and fine. I'm sorry. If a person is found guilty of odometer fraud a second time, he or she is subject to either confinement in county jail of at least 30 days and no more than 2 years, and a fine of up to $2,000. Under federal law, persons found guilty of numerous incidents of odometer fraud have been sentenced to up to 9 years in prison and fined more than $400,000. So odometer fraud is never tolerated in the state of Texas nor under the United States government. Failure to comply with odometer disclosure and odometer tampering laws could lead to the revocation of your license, along with extensive fines and possible prison sentences. And so let's keep that in mind, okay? I want to talk next about sales to minors. The legal age at which a person becomes competent to enter into a contract in the state of Texas is 18 years of age. Most persons under the age of 18 cannot purchase or sell a vehicle in Texas without a parent, legal guardian, or other person that has legal custody. A contract to purchase a vehicle signed by anyone younger than 18 years of age is invalid and may be voided. So if you sold a vehicle to a minor, they could release themselves from the sales contract, return the vehicle, and recover that vehicle purchase price, even though the vehicle has been wrecked. So just as an example of this, you might sell some 17-year-old a motorcycle, for $5,000. He could drive it down the road, total it out, and then drag it right back in. And under the law, you would have to return that money and take that vehicle back because you did a contract with somebody that was not legally eligible to sign the documentation. So be sure that you have someone that is at least 18 years of age signing all of your vehicle documentation.